Amigas y amigos, ladies and gentlemen, I must confess that until about an hour and a half ago, I was very clear on the way that I should begin this presentation. After, of course, the very laudable and great recognitions that we have all been a part of, I think I should then change my introduction to start off by saying, Sir Bodevin. Would that be appropriate? Congratulations to you and to Frank on your beautiful recognition. I think it speaks so highly of what you have done with this great organization for the benefit of humankind around the world. Thank you so much. Marike, friends from the Postcode Lottery, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being with us this day, this very important day, and this afternoon. You have given us gracefully of your time, and I would like, which is of course our most valuable resource, and I would like to correspond to that investment of time by sharing a couple of reflections with respect to the times we're living in. Before those reflections, two comments, if I may. The first, with respect to the Postcode Lottery. I think you do such a fabulous, such a fantastic job. The way you inspire people around the world, the way you give of yourself so generously, the way you come up with innovative programs such as a Green Challenge, which is definitely looking to explore what we can all do together in this very great opportunity that we have of migrating to a low-carbon economy. If this organization had not been invented back in 1989, we would need to invent it today. So thank you for your leadership, and thank you for what you have done. You have brought us, amongst other programs, the Green Challenge, this year in its 6th edition. I had the opportunity of sharing with you some minutes ago some thoughts about the Green Challenge and the way that it, I'm sure, inspires peoples around the world, entrepreneurs that find different approaches, different possibilities within their world to come forward and participate in your Green Challenge. And in doing so, gives them the discipline to focus on their project, hone their skills, develop a business plan, and get much closer to being able to actually making that a reality. Thank you also for having brought us the Green Challenge. So now, to the times we live in. Let me suggest that perhaps we are at an important juncture and a crossroads after 20 years that have been relatively good for the most of us. Up until 2007, we enjoyed 15 years. Up to 2007, we enjoyed 15 years of frank economic growth. Europe grew, you know about that. The US grew as well. Africa grew 5% on average. Latin America, 6 to 7%. Asia, 10, 11%. In those years, we were able to lift millions of people out of poverty. And in China and India, mainly, we saw another 500 million come from poverty and come into a new middle global class. That has important effects on consumption the world around as we move forward. If a Martian had been looking down at Earth during this 15-year period, he might have said many things, but one of the things that he could have said is, interesting how Homo sapiens has finally organized their work. They have put together one giant factory in Asia, mainly around China. They have organized one giant consumer in the US, but other parts as well. And in the middle, everybody is doing business and making money. Then came 2008, the beginning of the economic crisis that we have not yet come out of. And with it, we resurrected Keynes, because we were going to spend our way out of our economic woes. That, as a result, has left us with tremendous deficits the world around. When I was in government back in Costa Rica, if you dared have 3% GDP deficit, the World Bank, IMF, IDB, CEPAL, ECLAC, every acronym on the world would come down on you like a ton of bricks. Now deficits of 9, 10, even 11% seem to be what the world has adjusted to. And of course, much more detrimental than the deficit, it has left us with the levels of unemployment which we know today. I often say that if Spain or Greece were in Latin America, they would have already gone through at least 3 revolutions. But clearly, that is not the way forward. And if that same Martian was looking down at us in these years, he could have said many things, but he could have also said, interesting what is happening down on Earth. The governments came in to bail out the markets, spending a lot of money, and now the markets are shorting the governments. Nevertheless, in the discussions that we have today, mainly around economists that are finding ways out of the crisis, you see different approaches depending on who you read. So some say that this crisis and coming out of it is U-shaped. You read another economist and he says this is rather a V-shape. Still others say that we're in a W-shaped situation because we have a double dip. And some weeks ago, in reading yet another economist, he furthered the proposition that this actually looked like the sign of a square root, because we would come out and then we would have tepid growth. My conclusion was that economists by now have gone through all the letters of the alphabet and we're on to a different dimension. But nevertheless, if we look at the environment, these years have also brought us dangerously close to a point in where our window of opportunity is closing. This year we broke 400 parts per million of carbon in the atmosphere. We have seen the records that have been set yet again last summer. And what is worse, we are on a trajectory that would have us over 700 parts per million by the end of the century. In Spanish, we often say, las matemáticas no mienten. Math does not lie. We have 88 years to go between now and the end of the century at 3.5 parts per million per year on average, and that is a low estimate. That gives us 308 plus 400, 708. That, in contrast, ladies and gentlemen, to the 450 parts per million, which many scientists say we should not go over if we don't want to go into this terrain of over or minus 2 degrees centigrades with respect to our global climate system. And that figure, the trajectory on which we are today, the way we are increasing emissions into the atmosphere, puts us on a track record where we have 50% opportunity, 50% risk, 50% probability of seeing and witnessing changes in the world's temperature that will be plus or minus 5 degrees centigrades. The last time we had plus 5 degrees centigrades was about 3 million years ago. Alligators were swimming in the Arctic, and the last time we had minus 5 was about 10,000 years ago at the outset of the Ice Age. Clearly, none of those scenarios, one we would want for our future. And amongst this confusion of how do we get out of the economic situation in which we're in with care for the environment, two main responsibilities that we must fight and win towards the future. One is a fight for greater inequality, because yes, even though those 15 years of growth up until 2007 delivered many people out of poverty, it also increased inequality. And there are many people that are living today in conditions that are not admissible for the amount of economic wherewithal and the technology that we have been able to develop on this planet. And the other fight is a fight against climate change. Luckily for us, both those fights, the fight for greater equality and the fight against climate change, can be tackled with the same set of instruments, which is to set ourselves in motion as humankind in the direction of a low-carbon economy. That is a great opportunity, not only of our lives, but of humankind. That is an opportunity much greater than the Industrial Revolution was in terms of creating opportunities for new jobs, this time around for entrepreneurship, investment, creativity, and capital to flow into all of these spaces where we virtually need to reinvent just about everything. The way we work, the way we transport ourselves, the way we live and interact within society. Aiding us in that quest is the fact that we don't have to wait for governments to reach an agreement on how the world will reduce emissions. Today, full 50% of carbon emissions can be reduced while making it a good, profitable business opportunity. And that is where we are convoked and convened to work in. I have the privilege, and I don't use it lightly, I have the privilege of working with a very small but fabulous team at the Carbon War Room, and of counting in that work that we do with the support of the Postcode Lottery. At the Carbon War Room, we identify sectors of the global economy where we can reduce carbon emissions at the gigaton level while making it a good, profitable business opportunity. Gigaton because scale is important, and we need to reduce carbon at that level. And business, yes, because otherwise we don't attract the capital and the leadership needed to turn this around. So at the end of the day, it's about entrepreneurship. It's about changing business models. It's about rethinking everything we do and finding a new way to do it, which is low carbon intensive. And that is what the Green Challenge is all about. It's a celebration of innovation. It's a celebration of entrepreneurship. It's a celebration of free spirit, of people around the world giving the best of themselves and putting it forward de la manera más valiente y más linda, in the most valiant and beautiful of ways, as giving of themselves to solutions which the entire world has to move forward to. The Green Challenge is about broadening our understandings with respect of issues. It's about sharing experiences and learning what has worked in one place and how can we use it yet in a different place. It's about hope. It's about aspirations and making them into a reality. It's about change. Everybody that decides to contribute to this movement towards a low-carbon economy is an agent of change. You can go out of here today and start changing things in your life and in the way your family goes about things and be a contributing force of good in your community. Our finalists are terrific agents of change, and we celebrate their creativity and their entrepreneurship today. At the end of the day, amigas y amigos, we go through life often having a plan A or a plan B, and sometimes even a plan C. But when it comes to the planet, there is no planet B. This is the one we have. This is the home we share. This is the one we have to make a much better place than it is today. Muchísimas gracias.